Oh no, I appreciate it. Don't worry. We dropped the internet connection there.
Okay. No worries.
Okay, so I guess were there other things?
So I was going to ask about the validator then. So are you sort of calling that test? You decide, okay, before I do something computationally that takes a long time, I'm going to run this validator function, or is it getting triggered automatically in some way? So I've gotten my head wrapped around the getters and setters in terms of properties for sort of the base Python stuff.
Yeah.
I try and set this property to something else, and it triggers the setter and says, am I allowed to do this?
Yeah.
So then is validator getting called automatically, or you always have to call this validator function?
I'm going to pull up, Franklin's talk is actually really good. Oh, wait, I am not screen sharing. 1 sec.
I mean, you can always send that to me on Slack, and I can watch it later.
No, it's actually worth, I'm just going to go to one part. So he goes through a fair bit, but the way that it works, actually, I'll send this through on Slack. So the observers are called, as are the validators, when you update a value. So like when I tried to write that x naught, in this example, in this example, when I tried to set my x naught to something of the wrong shape, it looked at the validator, said, is this value valid? And then that said, no, it's not. So it threw an error.
So it's basically the setter.
Effectively, but it is a little more advanced than
yeah. So the stuff
but effectively, So it functions like the setter. The other thing that it can be used for, and the way I'm using it in a lot of my casing stuff, is you can actually explicitly validate before you run a simulation. And then you can also have validators on the class that basically like looks more so at the wires between things. So for example, making sure your mesh is far enough for your skin depth, stuff like that. That's sort of more on the class level almost, because it's getting to the stage where now you've hooked up all of the things. Now you want to make sure it's sane before you actually go and run something.
So then it sounds like the setter is limited in the sense that you're only calling this validation when you're trying to change the value of that property, whereas validators will do that, but will also allow you to call a validation and say, I want to check now.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Right, which you can't do with setters, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Franklin actually, this is a good talk to watch because he does just walk through an example of like how he's using properties and where the validators are, where the observers are, and all of that. Okay. This is another one that's kind of cool and just worth pointing out. So like what H is. So in this case, H is actually a list of arrays. So I can specify a list of arrays, which is kind of cool. So each of the things in there should be an array of this shape that are floats. And then that's all auto-documented, which is wonderful.
That's actually cool.
So.
And if you have, let's say, a problem, then you look for sort of a class, or you can look for other classes, right?
Yeah.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be cool if lots of classes, like just an example of like what, what I've been doing end of last week with the static utils, and for example, for the writing files out and reading them in, is that what makes a lot of the function to fail, they were tested on dipole, but were not working for any other duration, and what makes them not working was that, for example, if you have let's say we are like in 3 dimensions, so we have x, y, z. So if we had a pole that was like a single array of like dimension 3 by none, x, y, z, but if it was like a dipole, then it was a 2 by 3, so a 2-dimension array. So like the dimension of the array were like different if it was a pole or a dipole, instead of it being like I can imagine like if it's a single pole, it can be like a 1, 3, if it's a dipole, it's a 2, 3 array. But actually like the dimension were changing, so you had to change completely the indexing. Like if it's a pole dipole, then use this indexing. It's a pole dipole, use this type of indexing, and that's why like the code is kind of like cumbersome at the end.
Okay. Yeah, that was actually one, and that might be worth chatting about, maybe more like one-on-one or smaller. Is like breaking up dense code, and like because if something is handled differently for each of those 3 cases, then like let's just write a simple, and it could just be an internal function for each of the cases, and then it's pretty evident internally what these set of expectations are in each chunk of the code. So that's something we can look at.
Oh, like by using properly, we make sure that we are consistent with the shape of our object.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so then one thing that I did want to show of how we are using it in the regularization, or actually just the combo objective function. It's the same thing, but this one's maybe a little simpler. So I don't actually think. Oh, maybe, I hadn't injected properties at this point. That's interesting. So let's look at the regularization. Okay, so if we look at combo, race combo regularization. So there's a few different things here that are properties. So mref and smooth, my indactive, which we should rename, that's okay. The reg mesh and the mapping. And so each of those, I have put observers and validators on them. So the first thing that I do is make sure that the indactive are bools. We're going to expect that this is bools. If not, I'll cast it if we can. But if not, then it'll fail. If that passes, then what we also need to do is update the reg mesh, right? Because that also has its own indactive. So we've put that hook in place. Okay. The other thing, that's interesting.
I guess your line 647 would then trigger the other observer, the other validators.
Inactive. Well, sorry, 647. No, that's only if I've written something on the reg mesh. Then in that case, it'll trigger a validator on this class. If I've got one. Yeah.
What are the observers?
So 650. I think this actually I should. This is actually duplicate code, so this should probably go away, and then this is what happens here. So it validates it if it's good, and then we also make sure that it propagates that change.
Can you repeat that? Because I'm not quite sure what you did.
I'm going to try a simpler example. Okay, no, that's fine. So, sorry, I'm throwing around the term reg mesh. That is the regularization mesh. It's slightly distinct from a true mesh because we use sort of only interior cell gradients, so we don't actually, we make sure that we're not sort of double counting on the edges and stuff like that. So if you were to try and use that as a differential operator, it wouldn't work, but it works for regularization. And so that holds all those operators. We need to know if you're using a model that has active cells versus not. we need to know what those are. So we ask that as an input for the combo regularization. So here, a combo regularization is something like a Tikhonov regularization, where it's made up of multiple things. And so if I go in and I change the ind active on that top level class, I need to propagate that change because I made that here, but I need to tell the mesh about it. So that's, I first check that it's a valid change that you've made. So this just says, like, do these values make sense? I'm expecting a bool. Did I get a vector of bool of the right size? If yes, we can move on. Then what we do is we say, okay, the observers are now going to kick in. So I now also am going to go tell the reg mesh, hey, my ind active have changed. Here's what they should be. Since this is a
It's 47. It's what did you just comment about?
oh, this should take care of it.
So once again,
It's the
observe.
same level. Oh, I see what you mean.
No, they should take care of that.
Okay.
So observer also has another kind of flavor to as being a setter. So for a setter, you know, you go and decide you want to change a property, and it just says everything under this setter function, carry out these.
Yeah.
You sort of split it into two parts. One where you say, is this an acceptable thing that I can change my property to? And the observer is the thing that recognizes, oh, this property changed, and now I want to maybe make like these subsequent changes.
Yeah.
If that property is related and sort of impacts other things, that's sort of where you're.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the validator is just checking, sanity checking the thing. Does this make sense? And then observers are, do we need to propagate this change? Or should this have impacts elsewhere? So same thing like with mref. We can check that, and then we also then need to feed that to the children objective functions. So that's what all of these observers are doing. So in the changes that were made in the DC, it deletes properties.
Yeah.
And so that broke all of these hooks. So that's why it's failing. It's because if mref is updated, mref was no longer a property, and so it's no longer propagated. So we can go into that into more detail if you want afterwards. But that's the high-level explanation of what broke.
Oh yeah.
So.
Not sure that I'm following.
When's the delete happening?
So here, if we go to let's actually go on this guy. Files changed. So here, all of these were deleted. So the mapping, for example, was deleted. As was, there's some other stuff.
It's so complicated sometimes.
Yeah, so like the regularization mesh was just like cleaned out. And so because of that, like none of the hooks are in place. And so all of the tests that we wrote to like check that the hooks are in place are gonna fail. So this is one that we need to chat about because I wasn't clear on like why these changes were being made. And then I think it was perhaps just like a quick shoot through to try and get something new working. And so this is like a really muddled file at this point. Okay, because it did come in a, we can look at why all of this changed, but yeah, so like this, all of these validators were deleted, and so that would then, of course, cause, if you're trying to update the indactives, that to fail.
Okay. I have no idea, like that part that I really didn't know and I didn't touch.
Yeah, so one to look at. Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty important. Is it? But
Yeah. I'm going to put Franklin's video in here and just recommend that you watch it. Convention sort of goes with 8. Okay, the other, do you guys have other questions about properties or things you want to chat about? Or we can drill into that once we get coding.
I mean, I was still using what you were doing and then words.
Okay.
Without really knowing anything.
Cool.
We're just copying your style.
I think we had one sort of small detail, and maybe it's unrelated, but so I made the switch to upgrade to 3.4 on that desktop computer. And one thing I noticed is, let's say I had my problem class, so it's VRM problem. And in my .py file, I import things like NumPy. It would let me sort of go, I guess, was it SimPEG.vrmproblem.npy, sort of like when
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's a setting that you either put so that it doesn't do that, or if I have to go in there and change everything to import NumPy as _np.
No. You should always be importing NumPy as np.
Yeah.
It shouldn't need to be imported as underscoring.
Well, that's one way I saw to fix it, so that I wouldn't, because I guess I want to make sure that whenever I'm using SimPEG programming, that I want to call methods on a particular object, that I don't have a bunch of options that are redundant, or that options that don't apply to my problem. Obviously, I don't want to, call like problem vrm.npy. I don't want npy to be something that shows up in a list of things that I'm allowed to do.
So that's that is then just a thing with tab completion, and also Jupyter's working on that. One of the things that we can do is at the top of a file is just say this all equals whatever, and then what should happen, I don't know if this is happening yet, is that the tab completer will look at this list as the only things that are coming from regularization.
Yeah, because I've noticed that with some of the stuff is just, you want to only see the options for things.
Yeah.
You want to funnel people towards the stuff that they're going to use and not just see 45 different
Because if you don't do this, then you're going to see all the options.
Well, you'll see NP come in, you'll see
NP,
SP, warnings, properties.
And one of the other, like some of the other stuff, you guys have, maybe you've got a property or a method that's defined for like a base or like a parent class. Doesn't really apply to this sort of child class that you're working on. So for me, yes, I'm dealing with a time domain problem, but I don't want to inherit things from like the time domain problem class, because I don't need to compute right-hand sides. I don't need operators on my mesh. So I just want to avoid that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So then this helps with that.
But you remember we had this conversation like a few months ago when you were doing the MT, and I wrote like the analytic MT in SimPEG. We had this conversation before, and like we had the same issue. Like I wanted to get rid of like having like analytic MT.numpy showing up, so I wrote like the underscore, etc. to hide it. Because even with at this point, like it was a few months ago, so I don't know if there is a date to that, but even if you put something with holes like that, we still had numpy showing up, and that was, there was actually at that time a huge conversation like on the Jupyter or Python issue thing. So like it's something that known, but like there are like there were various opinions there. So it's really more something at Python than the code. Like the take-home message was like don't write import numpy as underscore.
Yeah,
don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, yeah, I want to avoid doing that.
But so that completion, there is that thing that's a code that we don't have much control.
Yeah, I think this is. We should look at that issue again. I think this is where they were leaning, is reinstating this. Please don't like mess with your imports just to satisfy the tab completion. This should eventually work.
Yeah, I figured there would be a quick way, so I'm cool with that.
Cool.
That makes me happy.
Cool. Okay. I guess perhaps. Okay, so the other things to look at, documentation. Try and use the Sphinx convention for everything. There's some really good docs that they have online. Some of our better documentation, like this follows Sphinx. So param, then you start with the class, and then the name of the parameter, and then a description of it. Then when you are writing a function or something like that, or a property in this case, our type is what the return type is, and then this is a description of what it returns. So then that is like read by Sphinx and printed nicely. So that's all good. If you want to see if something is actually documented, because a lot of the stuff I think that was written in DC is not actually built in the docs. Check out the docs, and then if you go to content, and if you go to DC, you can see what is built if you look at each of these modules, like which module is built. If you have something new, just copy paste this and like fix the inheritance name, and then it should build. So,
is there like a kind of like a in SimPEG, is there a good documentation that we can just follow, like say the kind of styles and what would put a name?
Yeah, I think the regularization is like not in bad shape.
No, yeah, that's totally fine. Like that documentation part is fine, but
yeah.
for like more general kind of documentation, where you can see how do you use this code.
Oh, like the high level?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Most of our docs on each of the methods are like all very distinct. Like one of the things that would be nice to have eventually for each of the methods is like a getting started. Here's the minimal example. So we don't have that for anything actually.
It's probably to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So that actually would be worth like creating an issue, and we could try and make a template for each of the methods even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Oh yeah, okay, so authorship in the docs and how we track things, and dates and stuff like that. What are people's thoughts?
Why what's that?
Just like, so in the pull request, one of the things, there's some functions that like have an author tag with them and a last edited. Personally, I think that's really hard to maintain because we're going to forget to update the dates, and that information is already tracked by GitHub, and the same thing with authorship.
Show me though how we track back over that function. So, yeah,
Oh, sure.
That's no section.
Sure. So let's go to SimPEG.
Because that's the neat part with putting the author sometimes, that you can go back to that person and say, why did you do this?
Yeah. So here, if we go to SimPEG, what did you want to see?
Yeah.
Whatever. You see the utils and statics.
No, I can do that. Static.
Here's an example of why it's a mess.
Yes. Utils, static utils.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, we can see these are all the people that have contributed to the file. If you blame, we can see line by line, line by line, who did what. So
Okay.
Dom wrote the docs. Zoggy changed these guys. Rowan put the count.
And that's the current with the current version.
This is the current version, and so you can do this with any single branch.
You did.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
I didn't know that blank button. Sweet.
Yeah.
Because also, like for example, like with static keys, I change a lot of that was written by Mac or by you, but I don't tend to put like another like modified on the like
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So that I guess would be my vote. Is like GitHub already takes care of it. Okay. Cool. Then the other thing that we do need to make sure is that, so originally I put in issue on Discretize just asking if we want to manually track authors, because the list is out of date, but I actually do agree that it is a good idea to track them manually, because some of these people contributed like way before it was on GitHub, and have contributed in other ways, in like helping write the paper and stuff like that. Yeah, so you guys, well, I think the thing that we just need to try and do is like when we're bringing, when we're bringing new pull requests in, and if people are not on the list, add yourself to the list, and then that will just be updated. So, yeah. And we can see, because I know like SciPy, right, and Feriando, Leo does a nice job of that as well. Yeah, so I think he's got a... Oh, he's actually... That's something I would need to look into more. Because I know what SciPy does. They have a file called thanks.txt, and then people add their name like for something specific, but we can just sort of keep names for now. I think that's good. So
That's actually nice.
yeah, it's kind of cool. Cool. Yeah. Are there any other things you guys want to do all together, or?
So for the authorship now, like for the function that I'm manually documenting now, should we just remove the API and then also that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's easiest. If everybody's okay with that. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It was just in terms of ease of like interacting with other.
Yeah. Yeah, if GitHub already takes care of it, then.
One thing that I would like to ask is the whole mapping. So we switched to use a row map, cat map, whatever problems that you're doing. But when we're on the outside, the directives or whatever, like, you don't want to have to customize directives for each problem. So it's nice to be able to just say problem mapping, even though we kind of want to want to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes too like.
Yeah. What we could do is actually write. I think there's a.
I've seen a map pair, like a property map pair, that you could just have in your property maps.
Yeah.
That just returns whatever mapping that you in.
There should be a way to check what's active, because what I was originally going to say, but now I think. I think there's a way to check. The thing I'm just trying to be careful of is in the scenario where we're inverting for two parameters, like mu and sigma, you would need to update them both. But I think that that's fine. I think on the props class, we should be able to check what is active. If not, we can write a very simple, just like underscore active maps or something like that, or active properties, and just name that so that it can be written into the directives.
But you're okay having like a property.
Just returning names, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So then, do you guys want to just start hitting on, because I left something like 50 comments in this. Do we want to just start hitting on, like, take your thumbs up and take some pieces and we can chat? Yeah, go for lunch soon. Cool. John, were there any questions that you have or things you wanted to table?
No, nothing great. This is just kind of with a lot of the formatting. I kind of come from C++ majority, and Python is a little bit new to me. So, yeah, this has actually been really good so far.
Cool, I'm glad.
as for helping hacking away at things, I'm not too sure if I could do that quite yet.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, no problem there. I mean, if there's stuff that you want to look at and even post questions on, or if there's examples that you're interested in seeing, like feel free to make issues on that. Examples are one thing we're trying to expand, I think, a fair bit in the new year. So cool. Yeah, sounds good. I'll just leave the Hangout open, but I think we're going to start hacking on some stuff. So feel free to chime in if you've got other questions, or if you have other things you need to be doing, no worries.
Yeah, I think I'll take off for the afternoon here, but I'll surely get up and ready for you guys next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.
Half naming convention, half proper English question.
Yes, go for it.
So for the renaming of the utils, so like we had like calc set, yeah, and I agree that you can move that to get rid of the calculation and just like electrode separation.
Yeah.
Do we want so like all lowercase with the underscore?
Yeah.
Do we want any S anywhere? I know it sounds really French. Like, do we want electrodes with or without S, separation with or without S? So just
Electrode. Is it calculating? Huh. Okay. Is it calculating the distance between? What is it doing?
Oh, it's doing MN and
Distance between electrodes.
yeah, and the distance M and
So you're getting back an array of electrode separations.
yes.
Okay. So then electrode separations S at the end of that.
But no S with the electrode.
No, because I think electrode separations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's okay.
So I guess so I will apply that also like for the midpoint. One is S. But
Source receiver midpoints.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
Fine
good.
with that.
Soggy, can we take a look at why the regularization changed?
Yeah.
Because I can hit on cleaning that up a little bit based on just what we saw, but because it changed in a oh wait.
Sorry, I was just trying to get where you got there.
That wasn't the one that I wanted to see though. History is actually what I wanted to see. Yeah, so it was these three changes. Let's see.
That's what I get.
So let's. Okay, so this changed. So this I think is dangerous. We don't necessarily want to change the
No,
default.
I think that, yeah, there was a I see there was a problem, and then at that time I don't
Okay.
know exactly remember. There was like a contemporary effects.
Okay, and then you put it back.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think Mike, it might have come from yours. It looks like. So your message here was DOM's updates to regularization of Piezo versus the tree mesh.
Yeah, I might have done stuff on our secret measurement pull down change. So, can you show us where things are done good?
Well, there's so there's a whole bunch of stuff that changed. Like, okay, so I wasn't clear necessarily on. Do we just not have a cell-centered to face averaging
That's right.
on there? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so that works. That's fine. There were some docs that were at it. Okay, so then this I found concerning, I guess, is like we deleted the reg mesh. So the regularization mesh is no longer being used. You're looking at the mesh operators. So like inactive probably wouldn't be handled correctly in this case. Like this is, yeah, I don't know where this came from.
Something we just revert back to what we think is the safe.
Yeah.
What it should be.
Yeah, because then these guys were also deleted.
Yeah, I have no idea why it's gone. I have online. Yeah, put it back in.
So that's non-trivial to just like sort of revert this once it's already in. So like what we could do is, because I mean, maybe the thing to do is, if you don't mind, just look through this commit and see what are the things that we actually need. And then what we can do is bring in the old, just the regularization.py from master, and then superimpose the changes that actually need to be made.
Yeah.
So here, if you take a look at this, that should, and maybe just leave a comment of like, this change needs to stay. And then I'm happy to like manually
I
fix
can,
that.
actually, if you want to do that, just say we can just pull master back in, and then we bring in stuff that we need to tree mesh, because that's all we need, right?
Okay. Well, and it looks like, I don't know what this addition, it looks like the sparse changed a bit. And then this co-terminal was added.
That's from the SP, right? That's where that's so much fun. I guess we can remove it for now.
I can bring in pieces that we need.
Yeah, just put masters back in.
Okay.
And then I'll
And then we can.
I'll work to the free stuff.
Okay. Okay, so that is now pushed.
So I never do anything on DC, so I might actually just go work on my desktop and work on some other stuff. And if there's anything that you think I should know or should be here for, just give me a shout.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff.
Manage to find a moment.
Nah, but I'm almost done that tedious part anyway. I'll just think about it for the future.
Yeah.
So, doing a lot of SimPEG. I need to get on that really.
So we're all just going at it now. That's good.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can figure out why Honda.
Do you want to start looking at like look at what I did with static util? Stuff. How to use this util inside the IO and so that it's done. So right now we do that a lot. Right now mostly like I will push what I have already. I've already changed the name. I'm mostly doing the technical documentation.
You're still on that add utils branch.
No, so this slightly there's this slightly util branch.
Tell when the branch has been deleted because mine still shows that
Yeah,
everything
but
is still here.
Yeah, no, we still have it on like locally, but it's not on the like if change and push.
So it's disappeared. You actually have to go through here and you have to search through the list of remote names to see whether or not that's been printed. How do you figure that out?
It's just like pull requests. I don't know what would be the best way.
So I should just go ahead and delete this.
Yeah, but once a pull request is in, there is no that branch.
I didn't see an option.
Because you're on it, so you need to change and then.
Since the branch is not fully merged, I want to delete it and need to do something that I want to do.
I don't know if you. So
you're just on TCIP dev.
yeah, I mean this branch was merged last week.
It looks like it if you follow the trees.
Yeah.
Still, just delete it. So we're not using words like get or calculate or that stuff anymore.
I would try not to. I mean, because we don't like. They're the same thing. Like get and calculate are the same thing, but they're not really telling you like what it's actually doing. So.
You have a good reference for the doc of like what to put as like, for example, like I always have to check like I do like the two dot param and like O string, is that string or str and output type vector.
Oh, like Python types?
Yeah, but for example, for a string in the strings documentation, it's not strings, it's str.
That's the same as though like what it is in
Python. Okay.
Yeah. So.
You just type and you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if they had like a dictionary that strings recognize.
It should be. I mean, it should sort of follow along with the standard Python.
Okay.
To write this distance function. That's the lines of code.
What is it updating?
I kind of like electro separation and you have it in one. Just like I feel if we do distance A and distance AB functions, that will be a lot of difficult.
I think she's talking about just writing a generic distance function. It takes 2 points and it calculates the distance between 2 points.
Also,
I don't know. That's what I got from what she was writing. What did you get from what she was writing?
Sorry, what am I supposed to clarify?
No, I was asking you. I was asking
Okay.
okay, distance A, and that wasn't the IODC. I didn't get that comment there. Like I saw like the function distance AB, like distance underscore AB. Maybe distance between A and like that. Yeah, fine. So,
I guess we should figure out where we want this because then there's probably also no reason to have one in the IODC and also one in the static.
that's what I've been saying. That like I think that's right now the static like this type of function they go both in like survey design and IODC, but in that way I think it's better we have like static utils and functions that are specific here, and then we IODC and survey design inherit or like these functions. Like when you call like for example survey design dot geometric factor, it's like the actual code is like util dot Like that's what I was saying, like in refactoring class.
Because I don't know anything about the code that's calling this, maybe I need to go look at it, read it, and figure out what the person is trying to do.
It's another function.
If they're grabbing almost all of those separations anyways, then we probably don't necessarily, like you said, we probably don't need individual functions. You can all of them. Just call one function and it returns all of them. I don't know. It's, like, you can do it any way you want to. It just depends on what people want to do with it. Like, we can structure it any way we want. Separate functions that it's just a distance operator.
It's just a comment regarding like the code complexity, because it looks like you're sort of doing something. So let me pull this up again. Which file is this in?
Well, that's static QT. So I think it's very kind of like common on both the IODC, but I guess we can do that in static QTs, and then IODC will do what is done in static QT. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, okay, so I guess what I was seeing is there's cases where you're not outputting, or you're not using all of the outputs. So like, is it?
So should we just have 6 different functions? One does, they're just all copies of each other. But
Well,
or we
I
just try
don't.
one numeric function that's distance.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
called distance, and then you pass it any 2 points, and it returns the distance.
Yeah, so that would be closer to what I guess I would say, and like maybe all that you want to do here is then actually just do like a get distance, and it takes and
Just 2 points.
Yeah.
The distance. But then does that really go in static utils?
well, it can go there for now, and then we can
Yeah.
move it. That's fine.
Because
Yeah, because like right here, this like the order that you're returning things is somewhat arbitrary, arguably. And so that's not necessarily going to be transparent to anybody on the outside. So if you wanted to do like get distance of, and then you could hand it AB, that would be fine too, as like an input argument, or as a list. If you wanted to get a list of like, I need AB, MN, whatever, that's also fine. Yeah, my only point here is just that like it's not necessarily transparent what's coming out of this function.
There's like for example, if you have a full dipole survey, but then the person asks you, like you still have like a lot of case to do. Like if you have a full dipole survey, but then somebody types, I want the distance A and B, and you have to capture that. Yeah, capture that error.
I guess we can make them specify every single output.
Well, that's, so. I'm sorry. Let me pull this up again.
Sure that they only get back.
So what it does right now is you're giving
A survey object and the type of the survey.
Yeah. So
and returns
for-
all the separations.
yeah, so in this case, if you just had like your survey type dipole, and then which one you want back, or if you want to list back, I think that like being explicit in that is helpful on like both sides.
Like
So
kind of like a third argument saying you want AB or like a AB or MN or like
yeah,
or like a all option.
yeah. So just like maybe so that I guess should be like survey type. Or actually, let's just go. Oh, that can work. Survey type. And then what about an argument? So we've got dipole, and then if we do like electrodes.
Electrode pair, maybe?
Oh, sure, electrode pair. That's, I think, good. Electrode pair.
Yeah. And I would pass this as a list, like, so we can, like, we loop over the argument, so the output will be the output order will be the same as the.
Well, we should be able to give a single string or a list.
Yes.
And so just cast the string to a list if it comes in as a string. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That's
cool.
And by default, that's just all of them.
Sure. That's fair.
You want to do that, or?
We want to, so right now the survey type is just camel case.
Okay,
so we want to get rid of the camel case.
let
and
me-
just do an underscore.
Let me double check that. Because this is now a variable name. Types. Yeah, I think we want to try and do underscores.
How about if we're, like, our variable is like the DC survey object? So we want to call that all lowercase DC underscore survey for referencing that object. And
Yeah, because it's like the DC survey with capital is like its type, so as a variable, it's maybe better.
That's where we can use, so I believe that's where you want to use the lower camel case, is we're referring to a class, so like DC. But in this case, because it is a DC survey, it's probably okay to leave it for now. That's something we can deal with later. But I think that's actually where you want to leave just a sec.
so we would want the DC in lower cases and the S in survey is capitalized. Right now I think it's the DC is capitalized, and the S is lowercase.
Yeah, okay, so this is the example they show for cap words for things that are shorthand, so that's what we do with that. Mixed case, I believe. DC survey. I guess I would do it, yeah, lowercase DC underscore survey, ideally.
No, because maybe we might change the because this one, yeah, that's not good because this is the best section that should have like Sora class. But that's
We're still changing the name, right?
yeah, but we will also need class. That will be Power DC Silver DC.
So class is denoted like this.
Yes,
That is the correct way to.
I think so.
So you're saying we want that. So
Yeah.
we have any idea what that's going to look like? The actual documentation. This would just be nice if it was documentation. I can see how that could look.
Sometimes I do like you see it's in Python. Yeah, right, but like for the survey DC that's good. We do like SimPEG as the survey DC. That's fairly long. So we also use that. To do that, I might just try to go into the survey and IODC class. We're done with the statics and we'll go back. Actually, it's a survey DC. It's a DC survey.
So lowercase survey, capital case DC at the end.
Right now, it's a survey DC with like
Capital S to start with. So I know.
Yeah.
So you just want param, you want that survey DC,
Yeah.
and then you want DC underscore survey.
Yeah.
Just like that. We're describing the output.
I think that's interesting.
So we're going to say is survey DC something object.
So the other sometimes you can put to ground. Yeah. That thing is like the F type
So that's fine the way it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually the F type thing that's also.
So you're saying I should like an R type statement underneath each parameter.
Not underneath each parameter, but something on the back. No, like non-usual Python.
So you're saying we should like copy this line?
I think
This
that would be
line.
better. Yeah. Not every one. This one is a string. That's the
Lines. And then we still want this.
No, I guess this one.
And
Yeah.
like
For we have to
depends
get
upon the mention.
it's the documentation of that, and then usually you get that.
I mean, it could work.
Like not by the
What houses IO tree.
No, so you can leave it. It can be star right now. It'll be fine. That's probably easiest. The other thing, I believe that you can now provide shape as a list of options. It can either be, I think you can do that if your properties is up to date.
Oh, so I think potentially
I think so.
so it actually checks it's either.
It should, I think. So you can see. And then your IO object will need to inherit properties.hasProperty. Yeah. Yeah, and then right at the very top, that should now be properties.hasProperties. You need to import properties. One more thing for inherit or for imports, it's usually easier to read if you do imports that are external libraries first and then internal. So like importing NumPy properties, matplotlib first, and then import like SimPEG, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any way, like, it's actually inside of this that not really do, because I probably don't want to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a better way that I can import, like,
Just your,
yeah, so like probably good thing. See,
you should be able to. So if you go up, where are you? Oh, so you can't just import BC. What I would do though is you should be able to like dot import R. Well, you're already importing R, the receiver.
yeah. Yeah.
Why are you importing it as base RX? Did you just import it as RX? And then just import. Oh, okay. Because like you've already basically imported that, so at this point you could actually just say base RX. It's the same thing.
Oh, but this is base R. This base RX.
No, you're importing the whole package. So. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So the other, I mean, what you could alternatively do is just do.
Like no, that was what I hoped. Is that
You should be able to do that.
that's supposed to. No, I think I didn't.
What is the error that it gives you?
Uh,
You might just be able to import like just import .r.
oh, like this. And that's actually .rxbc or.
No, then it would just be RxBC. Let me see. I think you can. Sorry, I'm just gonna poke. see. I thought you could do the import as. Or you can do at the top, sorry, and this might be easier, is just do, instead of, just do like from SimPEG dot, that whole list that you had. Yeah, so just do from simpeg.en.static.tc import rx.
That's not what that looks like.
That doesn't work. Oh, because you're probably importing survey in rx. Is that true?
So,
Yeah. So that would. Why, in the receiver or the source class, why are you importing? Oh, so you should be importing it there, and then if you go to source.
So yeah, not actually. Yes, I'm not actually.
Yeah, so you should be able to import source and receiver into the survey without issue. So, because, oh, here, this is what you can do. Ha. From dot, import this as that. So from dot, import rx DC as rx. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, and then if you delete these imports are going to make it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that simplifies things a lot. Yeah, I have no idea why this is failing. Say a black box to me.
Instead of using the param string. Yeah, because they'll put the owl app.
I guess the like usually I guess looking at an example. That's
And the house. Just looking at page J. You want to, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's basically same as me.
Yeah, so are there pieces that we can just
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to sort of the differences basically, like, rather than summing that
I
up.
want it split
I
up.
need to stack that.
Yeah. It's
We-
input
we
and
just
output.
need to, like,
Because not all of them have that was there.
But I just go back when you sit right.
Usual case.
but you're building the agile, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then could you do a like
Multiple call, like that's what I don't want to do.
no, I know I don't think you want to do that. But what I'm thinking is like because the only difference is here you're summing and there you're pending, right? So what if there was a method that was just like def underscore JT back, and then it just basically goes through and either appends or
Right. Okay. That's good. So I think here we want to have some sort of.
yeah, not on that guy. No, not on that guy. But just like a private method. So something like so basically like JT which takes self and like save or something like that. And then a full J. Oh wait.
But like can you use super as like so you can actually like just inherit this portion?
Well, so what I was gonna say is just move this to this guy,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
then
so
this
copy
guy
and
just
paste.
calls. Yeah.
So that's exactly.
So and then here there's potentially just an if statement. It says if save, then do this.
Well, that's actually not a bad idea. Because, that actually is nice. It's a more general. So you could either call JT back or J back
Yeah.
to form J. But basically, just copy this.
And like, what is? I also wonder if we want to call it get.
So we are taking all other date created information out of the Doug's birthday document.
What's that?
Doug's birthday document.
Oh yeah.
March 9th, 2016. That's 70th birthday.
Nice. Can do that one. The board.
Would want.
I mean, so, something like that. See what you think makes sense. But like, the biggest thing that like we want to have happen is just we make sure that we're not duplicating code. Because right now, JTVec and getJ are like the same thing, basically.
Right. But but I wasn't sure. It's if you actually copy and paste this, and what's the difference? Like, okay.
Well, so you copy paste it and then you like kill it from there and call this guy, and then same thing.
So basically.
Sorry, let me have a better look at this. Okay, because like, so these steps are the same, right?
Yes. Until there, it's exactly the same. It's only that's the
Okay. So then all I'm suggesting is that those chunks get abstracted into something like this, and then you can call it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I so but it's just one this. Oh.
So
Oh, you want to move just that piece. Is that
we look at get J. So like you understand sort of what I'm seeing is a statement of the problem here, right? Like is this code is basically line by line.
I guess I
Identical.
look at two as what is correct.
Okay.
Because
And
the
so
more of these I look at, lots of different ways
here
that we're doing this.
I think parameter.
So if you had multiple output variables, you would do all of them in this return. So
so here I'm wondering if basically let me just sketch this down. I think the idea so ideally I think if we basically like take this out of here. So I'm just going to copy paste it right now, but the idea is to so we have this here. And then there's basically PT is times a vector. Once we get this guy. And then here, same thing. SimPEG. And we add basically. Right, so in this case, all it's doing is if there's a vector, then we do JT times a vector, which is basically all the same steps anyways. But there's a difference in the input here at the first step, and then there's a difference in multiple. And then here, this guy is going to return J, or whatever you call it. So here, J mat is either a matrix or it's just a matrix times a vector. And then this you.
So then would IP type be the?
Then you just like
There's
call
IP types too.
either this guy to run J times a vector, or you have sorted. So then that also kills like all of this, right? So then here you would just say that basically.
Then with some IP types.
And then make sure it gets
You're
there.
assuming you're using IP type. It's the output type.
And then that would be able to go. Because like in one case, all we're doing is building a matrix, and then in another case, all we're doing is just like sticking the vector all the way through.
yeah.
So what should we be doing for this type of thing?
information about this because so it's not explicit when JMAT gets
Yeah,
reinitialized.
because
or
like
whatever.
when here's a little bit of complexity, right? Like once you get stored, like once you form the J, then you don't want to reform it.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you
change all the time to a very straight
how do you do that?
That was
Like,
already
like that. This,
None of them as well.
Okay. But
this will do.
This one. I guess this
Uh,
one for like.
Well, you've already got like this step,
Super
right? So if
easy.
self.jmat, if we're storing J and JMat is none, then go
Okay.
form it. If not,
So
then
you
use
just
it.
watch this whole thing.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, so that step's already.
On the next one.
Yes, I think it is actually forming get this guy.
I guess. And then this shouldn't be IP type. This should be.
And so where I would actually like first assign the stored J is either in, I would have it in both places, in JVec and in JTVec. Is like if we're storing J and it has not yet been formed, then then self.j is like my JTVec without a vec. Then it's stored and then it'll be used from there.
But the JMAT's going to become JMAT. It's because I'm working on some directive.
Yeah,
JMAT
yeah.
is going to be it's going to be like a variable check, right?
Yeah, and like actually, and potentially an even better way to do JMAT is it is. I guess that doesn't work though because you'd actually need the model. Yeah, so scratch that. But JMAT should be a variable that's stashed on there. I would also do underscore JMAT, make it private. It's not something that users should tinker with from the outside. Yeah.
So when I look for if the problem has a JMAT, I put an underscore J.
Yeah.
Get attribute underscore J.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Sagi?
Yep.
I should probably have an asterisk to see if the problem is a get J function.
Do we want to call it get J?
Okay, you could change.
Because we might not actually need that code anymore.
Yes, I think we don't need that
Store J.
Yeah, store
Yeah.
J, and I think it's actually nice because like we can do both of them, either using JVAC or JTVAC. It depends upon the case. Actually, JVAC is more efficient to form. Like if you
Put on the choice.
let's say 1D case, I got just 10 variables, and it's actually cheaper to use JVAC. Depends. So having an option.
So I can just look at the store J flag.
Yeah, then yeah. Can we still have a get J? Because like then you have an option that which ones you want to use. Like you want to use the forward or adjoint form J. Or you can still trigger that underscore J.
Sure.
Back or
Yeah.
JT back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's fine, as long as it doesn't actually contain the code to compute the sensitivity. As long as it's just calling something to get it, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
This case,
Yeah, because agreed, like top level, that would still be a useful
Is that
thing to have.
String.
Yeah.
Do do we want to call it get J or just JMat from the outside? JMat at the top level.
The question is get J mat or get J?
No, is it just JMat?
And then if JMAT is not formed, then you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it's already formed, then it just grabs it. If not,
Yeah.
I think it was used to be J4 or something like that. There was a function in the
yeah.
problem class, like
Yeah.
the base problem.
This diops
or how about
just,
J matrix?
array.
Yeah, Yeah, matrix.
Did you have any
Okay, cool.
I would say we should the average.
Oh, hey, Andrew. How's it going?
This mic is
Oh, you're muted, right?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was just trying not to add any static. Hey, good to see you.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. I just defended last week, so
Oh, congratulations.
trying to catch up on a few things. Yeah. Hey, thanks. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You're done. Can we see your thesis? Can we read your thesis?
Sorry, what's that?
Is your thesis online?
Yeah, it's all done.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we're sort of at the stage where we're just like working right now. The video recording, we were chatting about a few things earlier on, but were there things that you wanted to chat about?
I just wanted to kind of pop in and be a fly on the wall because I've been out of it for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
There was one thing I thought this might be a good time to ask about. A couple months ago I ran a comparison between DCI-P2D and SimPEG.
Yeah.
And so I just as a forward operation for the same discretization, the same model, and then looked at the VPs that came out, and they weren't entirely consistent. And I was just wondering, maybe someone might have some insight as to that.
Which code were you using, Andre?
So I was using the SimPEG resistivity forward modeler, and then comparing it to the DCI-P2D forward modeler.
There's a couple problems, right? Like a problem class. Like there's a CC problem, and what were you using?
Yeah, let me see if I can check that. Yeah, CC.
Yeah, so CC, currently we're like we're not interpolating between the source location. So if your source location is not exactly on the cell center, the accuracy of that code is not going to be great. So it's a difference. I think you'd rather use problem N to compare.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you're doing pull, I think problem N is actually better. That's my experience. And then actually it's more closer to UBC 2D code.
Okay.
Because like it use a null discretization. So I think yeah, if you actually compare problem N and UBC 2D code, it's probably like fairly similar.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, that I'll give it a try. Yeah, that'd be great to take a look at. Thanks.
Same thing.
No,
But all internal variables need to have names.
That's what we're working on, Andrew, today. We're just cleaning up the DC code. It's going to be less of us on our computer, not much talking.
Okay, yeah, right on.
So, yeah, I don't know if I can see internal variables inside the function.
Section doesn't look like it's existing anymore.
Yeah, and we need to do at the close the bracket, but say like the
if you have a function with a lot of inputs, for example,
Mhm.
if you have a function with a lot of inputs, and it runs over one line, then you would want one input on each line after that, or you squeeze as many on each of the following lines as you can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, is that cool? Yeah. Directives, we're doing everything into combos, right from the bat, listing combos.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. So now we know that's we need to check if it's a list or not.
Yeah. I think eventually we need to sort of rewrite actually how directives are like hooked up. So we should actually be able to hook them to any objective function, not the inversion.
Sorry, we should do it.
Oh, so something like a target misfit, we should be able to hook to just like one objective function or two objective functions if we've got a
Nice.
joint version, but that's okay. That's down the road.
All of these, you said all of these parameters should be referenced, right? I guess, yeah, we don't actually know what's going to be output. Because what's going to be output? Let's see now. So we have variable output.
You need on the list. But you can include as like electrode pair on your list. Or like just your string before that list. What's gonna
That's going to be input. It's not going to be output.
yeah, but the output gonna be your list already. So the output is already this.
So we're going to have a single output.
Simple output is the list. So list.
It's the variable name. We'll figure out something.
What's actually happening here? So I formed in the class. I formed the sensitivity matrix, and so it actually stores the full sensitivity matrix, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Then if I output it to a certain variable j, is it like it's just a pointer, or like is it actually generate a new variable j and then store it twice? Is
It
that
should just be a pointer, but I don't know. You'd have to run it to see. One quick thing, you might not transpose it in that case.
Oh, that's the AX like one.
no? Like because I'm doing in JT, right? So in the end, they want to get the J.
This is like
Right, but in this case, the function is called JT.
The right plot,
So you want to transpose it once you called it.
the axis, x.
Or like you're
that's
building
true.
J transpose, and so it should come back as J transpose, but then you transpose it.
before storing it.
Right. So I think
Figure
here
out
I
some
actually have not storing it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do any of the storage step in that function. I would store it in the like get J. Oh, we got it running. Thank God. Interesting.
There, pseudo section.
When we speculate book, you need to find it in all the files in that table. That's also using the test. So do find it. Find it files. Replace that.
the output is just a figure. How do we- So it's a peak.
That's
Because pH is
I don't like when it's like sat on the loop. Because that's the
so is it using return?
Yeah, where are you going?
But it, like the eggs, like the axis, if you maybe you want it back.
Do I go to sustainability, guys?
I will rewrite that.
Yeah. Lots of recommendations.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
for survey design and IO, we need to sit together because like there are many things and just like function in a very different way. So it will need like a lot of rewrite to make it work all together.
Yeah. I think I'm totally fine with actually like even kind of deprecating a lot of different things because that's just I just played with it and I thought like it might be useful to have something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beginning for sure, but it's just that like for example the static utils they're all based on they act on a survey DC object, while the survey design and the IODC were kind of like on their own attribute. So like we never really use a survey DC object or a survey or a DC object in the IODC either. So it's like hard to apply things on it.
Yeah, so that was Oh, you can check it later.
I look at it, but it's like I'm trying to put to replace some of the function with the static utils, but as a static utils, like the first argument is always a survey DC object that's not existing in the other class. Makes things a bit difficult, or like force you to create this survey that's have a lot of other implications. That's why I'm.
Yeah, I kind of tried like different things, but I wasn't sure what was the good way because I sort of wanted to divorce with that survey class when you're forming stuff.
So that's completely fine. And I think that can be very variable. It's just that we might need to rethink everything, and I don't want to change all your stuff the way I think because we put it in another way. So maybe we can keep it for later. Will be like the beta testing of instruments. Just never really use it.
Yeah, well, there's examples. I put a
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
testing examples you can actually.
Yeah, but as I say, just like because they are like written in a very different way, like the utils are meant to be used on SimPEG objects, whilst like IO and Sureta have like same content.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's a good way or not. So I think.
Yeah. Oh, here's the IP tag. It's like where you set the IP tag in the UBC code.
But still probably needs to do that.
Yes.
Very well.
Reflection good. We don't change particular how we can put together and we play it and we're not change how to change just function.
Sure.
But that's something
I still have to rewrite. Notes. The only thing I changed so far is like all which it's just basically function rules. Some internal variables.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Do we need to get all the way through this and push that? You're pushing stuff now.
As you want. Like I just fiction like
So,
So our tests are actually running again.
nice.
Ah.
Good news.
I have no idea what the issue is, but I think it's Travis's fault. Yeah.
Seems we were not the only one.
Well, because I tried just like telling the installation to not output anything to the terminal. Now it's fine. So it's not Anaconda's fault.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Travis changed. Very interesting. Nice. They went out to grab lunch as well. Yeah.
Oh, you?
Here, Mike.
Oh,
Useless to you.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
Busy being what you like, making me feel I like it. Is Pocket doing anything?
Yes, he's sending stuff to grad studies apparently.
So he's not working with you doing this?
So you choose the better user.
Was that Windows?
no, that's my computer.
That's
That's my computer, but what you use
He's remote.
I'm remote.
Remote desktop. Okay. Makes sense. I was confused. What's your weekend? I think it's the last week.
Mostly cooking.
Mostly cooking.
Yeah. But we did cook a lot of desserts, so I need to
Okay, that makes sense. Shut it right in. Lots of
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Starting boat training. This is how we describe it.
When you were
Fun. Tomorrow. I'm just packing up my office and making sure there's not in the office. Shouldn't be there for all that amount of time. Any food that I left there. I shouldn't leave it there for all that. I have to bring it home and then I usually mix it there staying. Yeah, so I just sort of kind of work with them and organizing shit. Yeah. That was the Christmas party last night. Cool. We drank like a little simply like the rest of them.
I was okay.
But like there was a fair amount of lemon jelly group. Yeah, I'm looking at one person here. Specifically that one over there.
Yeah.
So also we just like a really cheesy one.
Yeah. You gotta watch.
We just need to keep more.
Chipo's got it down.
Really good at that. Yeah, I think there's a point where you sit it up and broke it up. If you carry on drinking, you're more likely to revisit what you just eaten. And I feel like there's less if you eat less and drink more. There's a happy medium somewhere. What are you guys doing?
Hacking on things. Or working on SimPEG DC. Yeah. No, we're improving things. It's more like feature additions and yeah.
Nothing broken. You know, or you may be breaking stuff as you're adding stuff.
Yeah, that's usually how it is.
Yeah, so you'll be breaking stuff as you're adding stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it's tested, so we know when we break stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's good. That's simple.
So Paris is working now?
Yes. I don't know what the problem was. Yeah. The testing.
I would just rewrite it.
So they just host a bunch of servers, and anytime we commit code, they test it for us.
You look so happy with that.
It's pretty incredible. I don't know, like, yeah. I mean, with how many, we run hours of tests like on a daily basis.
You don't. They run it.
Yeah. Well, we are responsible for them, which is, it's pretty sweet, actually. See, we can see, like, what's working on which version of Python. So, kind of cool.
What are you doing for Christmas? Well, I know you're here.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any plans and stuff you want to do when you're around here?
I mean, the 24th in well, it's a different place. Like, American bank, a lot of people thinking like, oh, everybody's going to be a world. Everybody's a hippie. Everybody isn't a world.
That'd be fun. It's gonna be an upper.
Hopefully a few Korean.
You can see the French contingents. All the French. Well, all the French.
Luckily, we're going to have French, Quebec, Belgium.
That's pretty.
Italy,
Pretty much. Okay.
Italy, US.
Quebec and Belgium is almost French.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to give that like a semi-French status there.
Still trying to exit the merge tool.
I found. I'll show you this.
Did you buy another pair of skis?
I haven't actually looked at the GeoSci Craigslist for a long time. Right? Proud of myself.
Is it like a
Growth. Growth. Just, I don't have any money left to buy new stuff. That's also fun.
I just killing is probably a bad idea.
EVCO maths for my niece. Well, I didn't actually buy the EVCO math for my niece because this is what I'm for.
Okay.
So it's quite a little bit more advanced. It's advanced, and then this is, I actually bought this one. I bought the
Like when you
EVCO
talk
science.
about matrices with like 3 years old.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's not even like. I bought them the EVCO science. It's more for my brother. As he'll like it.
Because killing source trees is probably a bad idea.
No. Shoot there and swap out my decks.
We see you next year. What time you come back?
I came back on the 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to 2 weeks. Then I come back. I mean, I think the first one to come. Well, like first of the long people to come back
When do you leave?
tomorrow. That's why I'm like. Otherwise, I would not come in. Well, right. I would be working today if I wasn't leaving tomorrow. But today is fucking action.
Well, have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
And when are you leaving?
Thursday,
Okay. And when you
Get
the
you.
3rd.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go.
Yeah.
That's the Wednesday.
Jamie first.
I go for 1 day longer than you.
So you're storing gym matrix.
Yeah. The calling function.
Get a J and then we'll for gym up.
Just do use much.
Gym is a property, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
I mean, going in circles and stuff. Doing, so we should probably just go back to some place where it wasn't working. It's kind of, I would have just gone back and checked out. Yeah, I don't know. Seems we don't seem to go forwards or backwards.
Yes, sir. But it's just true that we all can all call JMap from the outside, you know.
Yeah.
The same way. For some reason, like it's supposed to be just calling this guy.
Don't put the property decorator on here.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, because it needs an input.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So property is just like, it should be defined on the class, and that's it. Yeah.
But when we call JMap, now it's going to be a function.
No.
The private variable doesn't necessarily have to be, so underscore JMat.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Sorry, so there's no get JMap.
I'm just like testing now, because we could have it later, but it's a bit of things going on. Get J here. Checks the J is not. It calls like this guy. So, but
My issue is that I get my G is J, right? It's a dense matrix. If I create a new particle, let's go with J. It's double steps. So when you call this guy here, you're forming. My case,
all of these cases.
I already have formed it forward. So if I create a new variable, it's called underscore.
One of these separations
Double
shows switch it together.
oh,
It's here. Copy it 6 times.
No,
Alright,
don't never copy code 6 times.
No.
But what do you mean for your problem? Like,
Okay, so for your problem, you're flushing it and you're reforming it. My problem, I don't want to flush it. Once I form it once,
6 other small
I keep it, and it's also my for operator.
right.
So if I create a new variable underscore J matrix, then now I'm taking my for operator and I'm doubling it. It's the exact same copy.
Oh, I see. And what's your operator called?
The G.
Call. Oh, I see. Yeah, you want
And then we're gonna
you want to have
find a way with it.
No, well,
Look at what the element is, and then decide which do you
we want to forward, you know, it's
better like calculate all of them in the political ways, and then just make sure that the house sets to the process.
Wait, just one thing like that.
But I don't want, I cannot have variables, because then I feel like the side. So if it's a pointer and it's okay, I can just return.
So, and the reason why we have a similar space in both of those reactors.
Okay, we go out functions.
Right. No,
It's that protected, it's the fact that it's a protected variable. So along, you're forcing me to have the same thing.
so Lindsay, what do you want that the J matrix as a protected variable? Yeah, some reason.
As the value?
Yeah, because if it's not that, I can just point, it can just be a pointer to the dense matrix. I don't need, two of the same.
Oh, why I think it should be private is just the underscore should be there because it's not necessarily top level accessible, and it's not going to be there unless you've gone and created it. So like just calling it doesn't create itself if it's not already there, right?
Again?
If you just call JMat or JMatrix and it hasn't yet been created, it's not going to return anything to you. So all I'm saying is that just like it shouldn't necessarily be top level accessible. Just like you should know that it's there if you're calling it, basically. So just the name should just have an underscore. That's all. It's like the only thing. It's just that.
But can this guy be a pointer?
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so in your case, in the PDE case, when he forms J matrix, he just flushes whatever he has. If it's a none, he just builds it from scratch. And that's a private variable.
Okay.
For the linear case, it's a dense matrix.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to have to copy this thing to memory. So I need a pointer to it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, so in that case, then it's just an app property, but it can still be an underscore.
And I can move it up.
Yeah.
Undo right up.
Yeah, so it would just be.
So J matrix is this guy, and I don't have my forward.
Oh, and then so all you want, so all that I'm suggesting is just. That's all.
Okay.
Oh, I see. So if. So there's two things that just happen there. Because there's because this is your J matrix, right? Yeah, and you don't want to recreate it. But you do have to provide it.
There's only one function.
Yeah. So that's a function, right? It's a function.
And like
called
the applying that strong way. We use based.
But the way to write it different down is just going to be.
And the variable, like the variable.
Oh, get J should not be just.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I guess the thing that we should do is then from within the code call get J, and then that should actually have the matrix stored. Be smart enough to either, if you want to store it, great, store it.
So we have a get J, and then get J is going to pass whatever we want.
Yeah, but then in this case, I think like this is a little redundant, so we should just have like J matrix.
So what the sorry?
So like,
no get J, or we need
well, we should get rid of one of these things. We don't need all of them,
Yeah.
right? So like that should just go. So just have like J matrix. And then that's, we don't have to do that.
Okay, so no get J is just going to be J matrix.
Yeah.
And then, but this is a function.
Yeah.
So it's not private variable. That's fine.
And then in this case, Soggy is going to create a private variable that is just the stored.
And then you're still going to have the J matrix.
It'll just call that.
Yeah, that.
Okay. Yeah. That name might be off, but we can think about that.
J matrix.
Yeah. Like, because we're so inconsistent with like get, and then the other thing that was suggested in some of the utils is like calculate. I'm sort of inclined to just not have a get or calculate in front of anything.
No, okay. So no get J for now. Let's just ignore it.
J matrix. Yeah, I think that that's.
Threw away what I had there, even though I haven't edited that part of the file at all. Stuff that's in the same line, not even the same function. I don't see a good way to have it. And I think it would be easier just to go through that, calculate all of them, and then at the end, just one to your prediction. They haven't discussed this.
Do you really need to do
Otherwise,
that?
it's like one of my ideas
it's,
that you loop over your list.
It makes a lot of like that.
But then for each element list, you're going to have
Yeah,
all
no,
of these different
Because it's weird. Okay, so if I
So you're looking at your list, and you're going to have a check for every element in your list.
then
Does it?
I can't really
Does
have
this
it
element
actually.
of the list equal AB?
How I structure
If it does equal AB, then you will subset
check
the list.
the
It has
registers
all of your
then we call
cases.
like I
If
did
it doesn't,
J.
it's equal to another element.
Then
in
if
the
I
list, you're going to have
have
to
that
have
J,
another list that has all of these. Switch it like all of these
Calling
statements inside it.
this.
So I just
here.
don't see how you're going to iterate over those elements of the
Get
list.
J should
Check to
first.
see
The
that
first
they
thing
are
I think is
inside
check.
what it's
Yeah, I
AB.
think it's
Yes, and then
What
how
do you mean find?
we're
But
structuring this.
No, but so like that kills the recursion meeting. Is if get J first, if the first thing it does is check J is already
But after that, just knowing that people can put like 4 dipoles and then say, oh,
No.
A and B.
this.
And
So you can have a
just
get J or
and
get
just
idea.
and just catching it.
But the first thing that it should do
And you're just gonna have to know this.
is like first.
I think this is the secret solution. Yeah,
So what do you think about just saying this guy, if that guy? I don't know, maybe say
check if it's in the
electro pair.
Right. So I mean, you've already got it. And then if you don't have it, then you go and you calculate it. So then you don't even have to do that check. You just say, give me J.
If A exists, right? That's all has to check to see, right? That's what all of these are doing. You're just checking to see if this exists.
Yeah,
And all
then
of
you
these
have to
conditions are-
So then here you'll want to specify what the output J is going to return.
Yeah, or we can
yes,
just at the
well,
top here, we can just say if electron pair is equal to all, so.
It's kind of always like a.
So,
Not sure that's which one is better. It's stored in it.
so electron
Output.
That's fine though. I mean, because what you can do in the get J as well is like essentially do a quick check with M.
Okay. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
stream comparison.
I don't think that it's
What we're doing,
yeah.
how we're gonna do that.
I don't know. It's just like like the way if you separate everything, just makes so many different cases and yes, I mean just checking the direct survey and output.
27.
Yeah. And for the outputs, if it's in the documentation, it will go fine.
Yeah.
Or you can make it a dictionary, and then that you have the.
So this is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
One output dictionary.
Yeah, that's good.
Got the keys right in the dictionary.
That's what fine.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We were still like calculating, you don't necessarily need to. Like a super quick calculation.
Yeah.
And I think you're just gonna have the amount of complexity that goes in orders of magnitude more or complicated to
Something simple.
That's
double here. But then we can set that in that.
seven wise, but round it off.
These are functions and the classes. Yeah.
Need to
I was just trying to think.
the other thing is going to be as a trend, we're going to have to change also see how you can in practice. You can specify
Yes. So,
oh, but we can we already know we can calculate the environment. And the way you work it, if it's a code, it's just gonna be an yeah. If it's used,
extract each of these variables. Yes, we're going to do daily brackets. No, it's do we want to do that, or do we just want to let not there? It's not going to be anything. This one's not very it's a yeah, but come on,
We have identity, which is like a 1.
I need a default, but it can be a none because then it trips out the other functions that require an operation. It's a non. I kind of need something that's the code get there that's a default that has to be valid.
I'm sorry, why doesn't none work?
I just want to be able to detect if it's a default and it's going to do an operation, but it can be passive number.
What is this thing that you're doing in operation? This is like for the J?
No, it's for the red. This is like the case of the alphas. So alphas.
Okay.
So that's zero to try to do this kills the beta.
Okay.
But it seems to be a default.
Yeah. Does an identity work?
It's a scalar. Scalar 1 to 1 and
Oh, that's it. That's it.
the size 1, yes.
I mean, if it is a scalar of 1, is that an okay default, or is that going to make a mess of?
Okay. I can just convert to 1. Check if it's 1 and then go on. Yeah.
But if it is, like, if the user inputs 1.
Then it will just, oh yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. So if it's 1, then it's going to trigger the function to calculate everything.
Why? Sorry, I don't understand the why the none doesn't work as a trigger.
Because you try to do a bit estimator and there's a none, tries to do a power on crashes.
Oh, it's like a
But you like, I'm wondering if that's a bug or a feature. Like you shouldn't be doing a beta estimator if you don't have that value set. Is that true?
That's just a test.
Because like you don't have enough of the pieces defined to actually do a beta estimate. Like, is it a tuning parameter?
It's a default scale. It's the threshold value in the regular position.
Okay.
And it exists.
Is there like a sensible default you can apply, or does that not?
Yeah, I guess with like a small, like when you say default and then the checkpoint, and that's it. That's all right. I think one, just put one user command. It'll be a rare case with someone.
But like if somebody doesn't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
then they always go with the defaults. So like you want to make sure that the default actually is sensible. Otherwise, then like it's okay that things are failing.
Default is a function. Default is a function that goes and figures out. That's that would be default.
Oh, okay. So then can you do like a lazy loading step where if like if another function is trying to call for it, then it actually goes and computes it, stores it, then we go?
Okay. Yeah, actually, we need to change the yes. Okay, yeah, that's an option. Okay, just
Yeah, because then that is like you make sure that something sane is set.
Yeah. When it calls, I'm going to try to format. I'll check if it's a none, and then we'll look at it's great.
Okay, cool.
Interesting. That should be all. I like it to dictionary at the end. Yeah. Oh, you're just oh. Good chicken elect pass. Alright. What would we talk about? Type check. Say it's just a list. List. Yes. No, I'm independent of the shape. Space.
Sorry?
And now, one that so now we need to pass back the type. Yeah, to say passed.
Yeah, so that's part of like the tool request. I can have a couple of error messages like that. Yeah. Oh, like in variation, but that's the same. Same like
Okay, I started a sketch at a method
no, it cannot fail.
documentation template. So whenever you feel like taking a look and see what you think.
String, list of strings, or a array of list of strings.
Not an array of.
Okay, so when we cast the list, we do this. We actually get rid of the list.
Or it's just a transfer the list for that.
Okay, so if you merge master now actually run the tests.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay. And how are the last it seems like there's a separation. But it also oh, you need to you want this one, right? If you go to the 5, it's just that's a 5. So this is the structure.
Straight. So no. That's the only thing I if I do that, it's fine. If I do that, everything's kind of.
No.
Three. Do you actually have 3 double ports?
Yeah, like
That's not what happened. So we need 3 double quotes. Is that? I thought stuff like that was just to preserve actual quotation marks in the statement. Because that's not necessarily what we want to do.
So why is that?
Is there any reason for me? Oh, maybe. Don't you want to include the second? Include the users. So I'm doing these things about trailing white space. There's plenty about trailing white space.
If you have your Sublime set up so that it trims trailing white space on once you close the file, that won't be an issue. I'll show you just one sec.
Has it confused one? Like when you say it, you get rid of the unnecessary space.
Okay, so all I have to do is say it.
Yeah.
All these so, you should start with these this statement that is similar to this. For this. That should be the beginning. This is this is close to the last computation from the last
So I guess I got the syntax for this. Yeah, that's what's erroring. You need to survive.
Are you guys changing names in the
Static utilities, yeah.
IO as well?
Not an IO. I just I start working on the IO and civil design, but I just discarded it at the end because the philosophy was so different. But
Yeah.
Back to getting these key errors. So why don't we just where the keys actually are? Say what the keys are. What's the name? Just remember that.
and that can be done now. Or just take that on.
I think we're looking at this.
I mean, I just need to try to go and indicate just commit what you did and I was good at this.
Yeah. And you show something like you and and this has like for which has like you just
It's not one that I was actually seeing.
yeah, that's
You can do nose tests. Nose tests from the command line, and then just the name of the directory that you want to have it test.
How would you do them all? Just run all the tests.
Yeah, sure.
So in SimPEG directory, and do nose tests.
Yeah, it's nose tests. So S at the end of then tests.
Congratulations, sweet.
Yeah, no, it should be done at 6 by the latest.
Yeah.
So I would want to